Okay. Who do we got going on here? Two people. Okay. I'm going to do the same lessons I have done this afternoon, but a little bit more in depth. We're going to work from Gary Chaffee's pattern series, Time Functions. And we're going to do the triplet elements and how we could break up the triplet between the bass drum and the snare drum. Next lesson after this one, we're going to start breaking up the triplet between the three limbs, or the three voices rather, the snare drum, the bass drum, and the hi-hat. But for now, we're going to stay just with the snare drum and the bass drum, using the hi-hat consistently and using the jazz pattern consistently. So, with that being said, let's take the triplet. Triplet meaning a grouping of three, eighth note triplet, and I count the eighth note triplet as 1 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and now I count occasionally a triplet as 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3 for subdivisional reasons. There's a few other ways to count the triplet, but they don't really work for me, like 1 triplet, 2 triplet, 3 triplet, 4 triplet. Or 1 ta-ta, 2 ta-ta, 3 ta-ta, 4 ta-ta. So what I'm going to stay with is the way I count the triplet, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. So what we're going to do, I'm going to take the first part of the triplet, and I'm going to use my right hand, just the first note of each triplet. 1 and the, 2 and the, 3 and the, 4 and the. The second part of the triplet, which is the and of the triplet, which would be 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and the third part of the triplet, which is the da. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Now, that's the three elements. And I could do all kinds of combinations, which we will sometime in this lesson. But right now, we're going to work with those three elements. And we're going to distribute them between the bass drum and the snare drum. And we're going to reference, and we're going to use the stick control book as a formula. When I see an R, it's going to be the bass drum, 1. When I see an L, it's going to be the snare drum, 2. When I see the right again, bass drum, snare drum. Okay, so now, if I did the first line as R becomes the bass drum and L becomes the snare drum. So I'm going to do the first line. I'm going to take each sticking pattern right as a quarter note. That's the first element of the grouping of 3. Then the 2, which would be a left, would be the snare drum. And if you follow that sequence throughout the book, the first line is 4 measures. I'm thinking of it that way. So I'm going to do it slow. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. That's my interpretation of this particular lesson here. That's how I'm getting the bass drum part and getting the snare drum part. Now the next move, which would be for me to play my hi-hat on the counts of 2 and 4. Now, when I say the counts of 2 and 4, 2 is being closed. 4 is going to be, 1 is going to be open. 2 is going to be closed. 3 is open. 4 is closed. So I'm using a heel and toe method. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. So now I'm going to play the first line with the bass drum, the snare drum, and the hi-hat. 1 and 2 and 3 and now. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Now I go to the second line, it reverses itself. It starts off with the left, so now I have 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and third line. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Heel and toe. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and line 4. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and line 5. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and I'm sorry, let me do line 5 again. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and so on and so forth. My screen just flickered. Hold on. Boom, banga. I'm waiting for a few of the students from my live site. What happened was we're having some computer issues. Now, the next move would be the right hand. I'm going to play a straight ahead jazz pattern. The jazz pattern, there's no really right or wrong. We're not doing a structured tune. We're not doing a 12-bar blues or a 32-bar tune. We're not thinking melodically. We're thinking mechanically right now. Hold on a second. Let me see something. We're thinking mechanically. So, with that being said, we're going to do a straight ahead jazz pattern with the hey Paul, are you getting any buffering now or what? You shouldn't be getting any buffering. What we're going to do now is play the straight ahead time. And there's a certain way I play that. And I want to sound as musical, not so much mechanical, but musical, but technically correct when I use this particular pattern. There's the level system that's involved with this. There's a free stroke, a downstroke, and an upstroke. If I'm playing the ride cymbal, if you can see my right hand, it's free stroke, downstroke, upstroke, and free stroke. Free stroke, down, a free stroke, down, a free stroke. Now the reason why I play that way is I want to get 4 quarter notes sounding the same. Now for me to get 4 quarter notes sounding the same, I have to come down at the same spot constantly. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. I just let the stick rebound to a certain height. You don't want to play it up here. You get too loud of a sound. So what I'm getting now is this. I'm just going to play 4 quarter notes. 1, 2, 3. They all sound the same. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now I take that and I want to make the jazz pattern. So I need to make the 4 strokes consistent. And I have the duh on the 2, the duh of the 2 and the duh of the 4 lighter. So how am I going to do that? How am I going to put myself in position? Well, first I got to establish a starting point, which is here. And I'm going to say that's a free stroke and a downstroke. Now, if you watch some of my other videos, when I demonstrate the level system or control strokes, my free stroke and my downstroke sound the same. Now that applies to the ride cymbal. Free stroke, downstroke. Now, how do I get back into the free stroke position? It has to be an upstroke from this point. But look at the distance of my stick from the ride cymbal. It's very low. So I have to come up to that position. And it's lighter in sound. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 2, 3, 4. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1. So now, while I'm playing the pattern like that, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, free stroke, down, a free stroke, down, 1 and 2. I'm going to do the exercise now. R equals the bass drum, and L equals the snare drum. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and I'm going to go to line 2. 3, 4, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Now we're going to go to line 3. 2 rights, 2 lefts. Here you go. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Right, right, left, left. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Now it's simple. It really is for you seasoned players. The guys who've been playing for quite a while, you know how to do this. You probably went through the Jimmy Chapin book, which is a great book. It shows you the graphics. I don't really use that anymore. I use the stick control book and I use Chaffee's books. And I create formulas. And I use the syncopation book. But no disrespect to Mr. Jim Chapin, that was a great book. But to me, it was a little stiff. But it showed me the relationship of the ride cymbal and the snare and the bass drum and the hi-hat, which helped me out getting to this point. Now, there's no shortcuts to this. If you really say, okay, start off really slow, make sure you're maintaining the right hand, the same sound. The consistency of that sound on the ride cymbal is extremely important. The relaxation of the heel and toe with the left foot. The bass drum where it belongs and the hi-hat the snare drum where it belongs. It's simple, but it takes control and focus. Do the whole page. Do it at a slow tempo. Up the tempo when you feel good about it, or lower the tempo because it's harder to do it slower. You need to really concentrate. Now that's the first element of the triplet. What we're going to do now is take the second element, which is the and of the triplet. And again, I maintain the same formula. When I see a right, it's the bass drum. When I see a left on the stick control, it's the snare drum. So if I did the first line, just the first right, left sequence, it would be 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1, 2. Now that you want to practice with a metronome or a drum machine. So now I'm going to play it against the jazz time, nice and slow. This is where you need to really get the tempo going on and separate this. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1. I'm going to do line 3. 2 rights, 2 lefts. 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Simple. But it takes a lot of focus to do that, to do the whole page. A lot of control. And it's not that you're playing a song or a structure of a tune. What you're doing is developing control of your limbs. You're commanding your limbs to do what you're telling it to do. Now, we go to the third element of the triplet. I was just going to say fourth. It's the da. 1 and 2 and 4 and da. And I use the same approach, the same concept. R becomes the bass drum. L is the snare drum. So if I take the first sequence again, right, left, I'm going to have 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and da. Against the jazz time, 2. Remember, you're doing free stroke, down, a free stroke, down. Now we take the da. 1 and 2 and 3. Simple pattern. Really simple. Now, you have the PDF sheets. In addition to the PDF sheets, you should have the book. There's quite a few people watching here. How about that? Whomever is watching and you're not in the chat, please get into the chat and say hello. And if you want the PDFs for this, the formulas, I have stick control, you have Jim there. I label it as Chaffee Jazz and Stick Control 1001, Chaffee and Stick Control 1002, Chaffee and Stick Control 1003, plus all his cymbal patterns. Now, if you want the PDFs, all you need to do is email me. Tell me which ones you want, and I will send them to you. They're free. Let me put my email in here. Hold on. So just email me and I'll send them to you. Okay? Now, I don't know why, like, we had an issue. We're going to do this lesson on my site tonight, but for some reason, it was buffering. So I had some of the members come over here to view the lesson, and now they're telling me there's no buffering. So I have to research this and see why it's buffering all the time on my channel. So be patient, gentlemen, okay? Now, we just took the first three elements, and I've sent you the PDFs. I'm going to do all the elements of the triplet, all the combinations. Plus now we're going to start moving the hi-hat around as opposed to just on the 2 and 4. We're going to play it on the does. We're going to play it on 1, 2, 3, 4. Or we're going to do combinations between the snare drum and the hi-hat, or the bass drum and the hi-hat. So I'm working on this. Also, what I'm working on for you gentlemen is the fatback exercises that Chaffee has, the combinations. And I have, I don't know how many different ostinato patterns, maybe 20. And I'm going to write, you know, it's going to take a little while, and I'm doing it now in my spare time because I've sent you about 60 different PDFs. As soon as I do all the cymbal patterns with all the the combinations, then you'll get them. But there's a lot coming, and also the combinations for this stuff. All right, plus a tremendous amount of linear concepts coming your way. I've sent enough PDFs for a whole year. I need some time for myself to practice and to take care of what I have to take care of. And I hope you gentlemen don't mind. Now, please, whoever's watching, get into the chat. Say hello, where you're from. Australia, Brazil, Canada, Spain, the UK, California, Texas, Mexico, wherever. Please, please. Now, we also want to do this, instead of using just the right hand, I don't have the other ride cymbal set up, I just keep changing things. We're going to do it left-handed or open-handed. Instead of playing the ride cymbal only with the right hand, like 1 and 2, 3, 4, we're going to take the cymbal and use the left hand. 1, I have a crash cymbal, so it's going to sound not so good. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. And we're going to take all of the patterns. This time the right's going to equal the bass drum still, and the L is going to equal the right hand on the snare drum against left-handed. Now, it's actually better for you. I do it right-handed first, but it's actually better because you become stronger if you do it open-handed. You know, you're playing the right side all the time. So if you work the left side, you really have to focus and concentrate, and you become stronger, a stronger player. Now, today I got invited to an open jam next week sometime. I forget what day it was. I'm going to film that, and I'm going to post me playing with a live band. It's supposed to be a big band, like a 12-piece band or something. I don't know. And I'm going to go in there cold, and I'm going to play. And I'm going to video it and put it on YouTube. How's that sound, guys? This way, all this stuff that you see, that I teach and explain, you'll see it in action. Okay? Now, be prepared for more PDFs by the end of this week. Do we have any questions on this? What I like to do All right, if you have the PDF, I'm going to open the book because I'm too lazy to print it out. Well, if you develop the left side, that's your weaker side because you're right-handed. And you have to really, really focus in on that. And it makes the right side, believe it or not, stronger. Okay, so now, what I want to do is go back into this book. And I'm on page, if you have the book, it's 26. If you don't have the book, you should have the PDF. And what I did is you have from 1 to 7 with the snare drum, 8 to 14 with the bass drum, and the combinations as well. What I like to do and how I like to practice this is this way. I just sit here and hang out. If I'm just going to play, say, the snare drum, no bass drum, just the snare drum, I'll just mix it up. 3, 4. And I'll go down to 8. 1. Back to 1. So I like to do from 1 to 14 over and over again. Or I'll just mix them up. I'll do a no-brainer kind of thing and just hang out with this. Just play what I want to play, but maintaining whatever is here whenever I want. Just have a good time doing that. Both right-handed and both left-handed. Wednesday comes, Wednesday night, I will put my right cymbal up here and I'll do some left-handed for you. Okay? It's not a 32-bar tune. We're not talking about structure of a melody. We're not talking about 12-bar blues. We're talking about developing control of your limbs against the jazz pattern. Now, we're going to hit the syncopation book as well. The triplet fills as well. And we're going to start utilizing the hi-hat. For example, if I use say the triplet fill, right? The first one, if you remember, one surface. And we took it downtown with the bass drum. Now we're going to do this. We're going to make the does the left foot. So on and so forth. That's all coming to you guys. It's a long process. I get very excited. I sometimes overwhelm everybody. I get overwhelmed. Okay? Paul and Ed and all the other people that are watching. No questions, huh? And if anybody would like the PDFs, give me a holler and I'll send them to you. And I didn't realize it's that late. Anyway, anything would you like me to go over in particular? Now I'm going to give you guys, besides me continuing with this concept or this approach, I'm going to give you guys a choice. All the PDFs that you have, I would sincerely appreciate you giving me an email, tell me which one you would like to work on. I'm getting a little fried with the same thing all the time, but a little bit deeper. So I would like to change it up, mix it up a little bit, and we'll get back to the linear concepts and new formulas. Did I show you guys the triplet one? You know, in relationship to this one, the 16s using the stick control book. Remember this one we did the other day? If you remember that, we do it with the triplet. Did I show you the triplet one? Help, gentlemen. Hey, Ed, are you on Facebook and are you inside of all the Facebook Art of Drumming groups? And Paul? You gentlemen there? Paul and Ed? The reason why I'm asking, I made a video the other day, like all total of all the rooms that I have, okay, out of all the rooms that I have, there's a total of, I don't know, maybe 300,000 maybe members total. That's a lot of members. Anyway, I'm looking for some help. Anybody want to become an administrator? That would be cool. All right, and I made a video of the rules. Like 300,000 people should be watching it, and I made it last night. Okay, Paul, if you want to be an administrator, I'll put you in there. Not only the Art of Drumming, but the Stick Control Book room, the Chafee room, all the other rooms. If you would like to be a administrator, you too, Ed, as well. It's entirely up to you. And whoever would like to be an administrator, I could sincerely use your help, or a moderator, whichever you have time for. It takes a lot of work. I get up every morning when I turn on the computer, get on Facebook. I have 4 different accounts. And on the 4 different accounts, I have 99 plus notifications. And that's a lot. So it takes me from whatever time I get up, about an hour. After that, I'm completed on Facebook. That's an hour every day. Then I do the writing. Then I do the practicing. Then I do the teaching. Then I take my kid to the basketball game. Then the other one to the karate. Then I take a nap. Then I do it all over again. So you guys email me. Let me know if that's what you would like to do. Anybody who's watching or listening would like to be an administrator, please contact me on Facebook or email me, mattpatella1001@gmail.com. I can use all the help that I can possibly get. And I've known you guys for a while, and you know what I'm about and what the groups are about. Okay, Paul? Okay, Ed? And whoever else is watching. All 9,000 of you. Okay. Think about it. No softball, Paul. Just kidding. If you can, if you'd like, it's not a problem. The offer is there for you. You know, I could use about 10 different administrators. I also have a room just for the administrators to talk things over. And you gentlemen would really like that. All right, I had to get in touch with Daniel Glass one day this week to see what his Delaware drum show is all about. I want to go down there and take a ride. I'm going to take Michael Lewis with me, or Michael Lewis is right there. And I'll take another one of my students, and we'll go hang out. Paul, if you get on a plane, and Ed, if you would like to come, man, we'll just all hang out down there. Have a great old time. We'll have Daniel Glass demonstrate everything. It'll get you on camera. Okay, no questions, nothing, okay? All right, with that being said, I'm going to close it down. Unless there's something you want me to deal with tonight's lesson. Any questions? And get on Facebook. You would love the drumming groups that I have. You get on Facebook, you get all kinds of crazies. People telling you what they ate for breakfast. Or they get into political or religious conversations. I don't deal with that. Strictly drums. I ignore everybody else. My pleasure, Paul.
Okay, with that all being said, you guys have a good night. I'm not going to do a 1 p.m. lesson Wednesday, only at 7:30 p.m. And I'm going to start it off on my site. I'm going to do that research why it's buffering. Okay? And if it is buffering, we'll come back to this channel. Go to that site first and let's see what's happening. Okay, gentlemen, have a good night.